Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the game room. I mean, since I forgot, well, technically I forgot to do one of these last month, so I'm going to do the one this month. I'm going to be doing a continuation in my Commander series. Uh, so I'm going to do another one of my featured Commander decks. We're going to talk about today. Today's one we're going to talk about is going to be my X-Spell Tribal deck, which is this is the Commander. So I'll see if I can get it in focus. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's the camera's a pain because there are quite a lot of fours. Anyway, so this is the commander of this one. So basically, this was printed as a rare in a previous thing. I think it was either Shadowmoor or Evening Tide or that kind of block. Anyway, so this is going to be an X-Spell Tribal deck. So this is the commander. So basically, this is Rosheen Meanderer, for those that don't. So it's 3 a red and a green for a 4/4. He basically taps for four colourless mana, but you can only spend this mana on costs that contain X. So they don't have to be. They don't have to be. They don't have to be the spells cost. They can be X in abilities as well, which is given this. So this mainly is an X spell tribal deck. So a lot of the featured cards in the deck are going to be hydras, which is also one of the things. Anyway, so this guy is now as an uncommon, so you can play him in the other format, which is was it Pauper Commander, where your cards in the deck are all common, but the commander has to be an uncommon. Anyway, so that's a legal option for that as well. So anyway, that's Rosheen. So we will start with the creature section. There's quite a lot of them. So the first set of creatures in the deck are just going to be basically we're going to just start with the generic creatures that don't have X or aren't in the thing. So we're going to start with. This is Omnath. This is maybe one of his worst forms, but like Omnath is still a good card. It's just not comparable to like the 4-color Omnath. And there's a 5-color Omnath coming soon, isn't there? It's just been spoiled. Anyways, this is Omnath Locus of Rage for a 3 red. Oh, also before I say this deck is probably on the lower power spectrum of my decks. I would probably give it about a 6 out of 10. I would say. Anyway, Omnath Locus of Rage is a 3 red green for a 5/5. But he has landfall, and it's whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. And it's when Omnath or Locus or of Rage or another elemental dies that it controls, you bolt something, so it's 3 damage target creature or player. Right, so there's that one. Then we've got some Preators. So we've got Vaughnclicks. Yeah, this is a proxy. I've only got one of them. It's in my Sisay deck, I think. I'll probably have that in another video. So this is Vaughnclick's Voice of Hunger for a 6, a green and green for a 7/6 trampler. It's whenever you tap a land for mana, add one additional mana of any type that land will produce into your mana pool. And it's whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, the land doesn't untap during the controller's untap step, so it misses a turn. So that means they have. Then we've got Vaughnclicks. So this is the Phyrexian version. So this is one of the more popular cards in the set for Kaldheim, and I think it's gone up and spiked recently because it's popular in a lot of decks. Other decks it's popular in stuff like Infect, which is seen as surge in popularity, and it's also popular in stuff like Planewalkers. It's also in my Planeswalkers. So for those that don't know, he's a 6/6 for 4 green. He also has I think he has Trample and Haste, I believe. He basically also acts like a mini doubling season, so he doubles the counters that go into permanents you control, and he also halves the ones that go into opponents as well, so that's good. Then we've got another landfall card. Quite a lot of these things are going to have landfall. So this is Rampaging Baloth for 4 green, 6/6 with trample. It's landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, you may put a 4/4 green beast onto the battlefield, and you can lots of ways to put land onto the battlefield. Then we've got the good one, Lotus Cobra. You can use the this is the original art. You can use one of the newer ones if you want. And this is landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, you add 1 mana pool of your mana to your mana pool. So you can. It's basically a Lotus Petal. And then we've got the various one is you've got Avenger of Zendikar. So this is 5 green and green for 5/5. He's an elemental, so he also has synergy with the Omnath. And it's whenever Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, as a 0/1 green plant into play for each land you control. Landfall whenever land enters the battlefield under your control. You may put a +1/+1 counter on each plant you control. Right, so that was the creatures that aren't hydras. So now we'll do the we'll finish with the hydras actually, and we'll start with the other ones on. So these are all going to have X casting cost creatures, but these aren't hydras. So this is going to say one of the more recent additions to the thing. So this is okra jelly. So it feels he's an ooze. Oh yeah. Also, before I say anything about this, there's a lot of cards for this deck that could be played, that came out of the recent one, that came out of the 40k commander decks. So like a lot of the Tyranids also have X in their cost. So if you have those, play those. I don't have that deck currently. I will think about it, or if I want to keep it more on theme with the magic. Anyway, if you have those cards, you can have a look at them and see if you think they're playing. I don't have them currently. Anyway, so this is an X and a green. I see one problem with a lot of the hydras and things is they don't have trample, or a lot of them don't have trample, and you need basic ways to give them trample. So this one has inbuilt trample. So this is okra jelly, enters the battlefield with +1/+1 X +1/+1 counters, which is good on its own. But it splits, and it's when it dies. If it had 2 or more +1/+1 counters, create a token that's a copy of it at the beginning of next end step. The token enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters into half. So it basically splits into half. Anyway, that's okra jelly on one of the more recent additions to it from the D&D set. And then we've got some various things. These are basically, they don't have X in the thing. They've got X in part of the spell cost. So this one is basically channels for Hurricane. So it's discard, do X damage to each creature with flying. So it's Ariashi, or if he's in play, you can pay X and shoot things with flying. And then you've got this one from so those were from the original Kamigawa. So this was the similar one in the sequence. So this is Jawari, the Earth of Flame. So this is basically Earthquake. This is 3 and a red for 3/3. Oh, it's a spirit as well. If you've got a spirit tribal deck, I mean some people probably do. X and it's X and a red channel. Tap deals X damage to target creature without flying, and then it's channel for like an X red discard, deal X damage to each creature without flying. And generally, most of your damage-based removal basically will leave most of your side of the board intact, whereas your creature's all so large they normally survive most of it anyway. Anyway, and the last creature that isn't that has X in the cost is a Silklash Spider. It's basically just another Hurricane variant. It does 3 green for 2/7 with reach, and it's X green deals X damage to each creature without flying. Right, so now we're on to we'll just do the X casting cost creatures, and then they say these are all colourless. So we'll start with the artifact one. So this is Hangaback Walker, more associated with things like hardened scales, but yeah, you must know what Hangaback Walker is. Double X anyway, it's not just single X. I mean, his Hangaback Walker enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. When he dies, put a 1/1 colour swap to artifact token into play with flying for each counter on it, and you and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on it. And we were going to have things that increase the amount of counters in the deck and various stuff. And then we've got Walking Ballista, X and X for a comes in with XX +1/+1 counters. 4 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and remove a +1/+1 counter, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. He's not going to be infinitely large in this deck, but like you can still get good value out of it. I mean, Ballista sees play even at Legacy in things like the Mono White Initiative deck and various things like that play it. Anyway, so we've got some other things. So this is Wandering Stonecoil Serpent, not Wandering Serpent. This is Stonecoil Serpent, so this is basically just an XX. It has various abilities which some people are going to forget. It has so many for this kind of card. It's Reach, Trample, Protection from Monocoloured, quite useful, can be in Commander. I think Protection Multicoloured is probably better, but like it's still okay. And it's basically just a large thing, and it's quite useful. Right, that's the Stonecoil Serpent. And then we go on to the last X, well, colours creature, and technically it's just colours creature. So this is an Eldrazi, this is just Endless One. So it's in the deck currently. There might be better things at some point, but he's in it currently. So he's just basically a X thing, so he basically can use him as like you can use him on curve whenever you want, or if you've got mana later, you can make him quite big. Right. So now we'll move on to the more featured bit of the deck. So we're going on to the hydras, which are the bulk of the thing. So we'll start with the hydras that don't have X in the mana cost. So this is Gargos, the Vicious Watcher. He's a 3, a green, green, green for an 8/7. That's a weird stat line. There's not many creatures that have that stat line in Magic. Vigilance is Hydra spells you control cost 4 less to cast. It's whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos fights up to one target creature you don't control. That's not particularly that relevant, but like as I say, also people that are looking to play like a Hydra deck, this is also one you could potentially use as the commander, because I've seen people do that, and you say he's a good card. If you don't want to feature on the other X kind of casting things as well and want to leave more on the Hydra end, he's also a good alternative. Then we've got Hydra of the Apocalypse. So these are the multicolored Hydras coming up. So this is a red-green. It's basically XX enters with X counters. If X is 5 or more, it enters with an additional X counter, so it basically doubles itself. You can pay 1 and a red to remove a counter from the Hydra to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Then we've got Savageborn Hydra. So this is a similar X, a red and a green for a double strike. He comes in with X counters, and it's 1 and a red, put a counter on it, activate only as a sorcery. Then we go on to the... I think I might have just gone through the pile. Oh, yeah, I've done the wrong thing. Sorry about that. I did the wrong pile. I've gone through the thing. Anyway, we'll carry on with the ones that didn't finish. We've got Hydra Broodmaster. For 4, a green and green, he basically is X. His ability is XX, Monstrous X. This is a promo version of it. And it's when he becomes monstrous. Monstrous puts XX counters on it. And then when he becomes monstrous, you put XX green Hydra creature tokens onto the battlefield. I'm going to say there's then Hydra Omnivore. So this is basically a 6 mana 8/8, which is a good stat line already. The thing is, though, this one is good. It was designed with multiplayer in mind. Is when he deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each opponent. So if you can get this through on someone who doesn't have much in the way of blockers, you can connect with anyone. And we've got Colonial Hydra, 3 green green. This is it'll be basically a 4/4 on normal stats, and whenever he attacks, double the amount of creatures on +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So that will be normally quite a lot. I know. So I've played this. I played that in standard when it was legal. And then another one I also played in standards, we've got Polychronos, the World Eater. So he's a 2 green green for 5/5. He also has the monstrous mechanic. It was as the decks were called, it was like red green monsters were the thing it back in the time. And it says when he becomes monstrous, he deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures opponents control. Each of the creatures deals damage to them. So it's a fight, effectively. Right, now back to the actual X spell Hydras. Right, so we've got Primordial Hydra. This is he basically is a XX, but he has an inbuilt kind of doubling effect. So at the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of counters on him, and then he also gets trample as long as he has 10 or more +1/+1 counters. Not that difficult to do. And we've got Hooded Hydra. So this is it enters with counters, and when he dies, put a 1/1 green snake for each +1/+1 counter. He also has morph, so he enables you to play you face down like that. And anytime you can have the mana available, you can pay the morph cost, which doesn't use the stack actually, so they can't really respond to it. So in base it, and then it puts 5 additional counters on it. There's that one. Then we've got one of the newer editions. We've got Stump Squirrel Hydra. He came from the command set. So I mean, his commander. It might have been commander. One of the commander sets. Anyway, so he's enters with X counters, and you can distribute them amongst it and any amount of commanders. Because I was looking ways for like making Rosheen be able to kill people with Rosheen. You can also play this as a bargaining tool, kind of. You can play it more politically, and able to put these counters. You can bargain with people and make their commanders larger as well, if that's what takes your fancy. Then we've got Lifeblood Hydra, so it's X, green, green, green. And this enters with the counters. I say most of the ones are going to enter with counters. But when this one has inbuilt trample as well. And when he dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to powers. So it's a pretty good one. Then we've got Hungry Hydra, which he enters with counters. He's got inbuilt madcap skills. I believe it's no, it's not madcap skills. He's got it's one of the other cards. I can't remember which one it is. It means he can't be blocked by more than one creature. And whenever he's dealt damage, you put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Then we've got another one. We've got Ren Run Hydra. So this is a Hydra with reach. Yeah, there's some of them that have reach. I mean, this also has a reinforcement on it. So it's discard this card, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. I believe I got my first kill with Rosheen due to that. I managed to reinforce it for a large amount and attack someone when they didn't block. Anyway, and then we've got Protein Hydra. So it's another Hydra. If it would be dealt damage, it'd prevent the damage and remove that many counters. And it's whenever a +1/+1 counter is removed from it, put 2 +1/+1 counters in the beginning of the end step. And we've got Genesis Hydra. So this basically, it reveals the top X cards of your library, where X is the amount of mana you put into it. You may put a non-land permanent with converted mana cost X or less from them among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into the library. So there are some spells that you can get off it. There's some hits. A lot of the spells are X, but like it digs you down into your deck. Then we've got Vastwood Hydra. It's another +1/+1 thing, and it's when he dies, you may distribute a number of +1/+1 counters amongst any number of creatures you control. Right, then we got something from Eldraine. Came from Eldraine. So we got this Turtle Hydra thing. He looks pretty cool. He wouldn't look out of place in something like Get Monster Hunter or something like that. Anyway, it's a good thing. It basically enters with X +1/+1 counters, and then you can pay 2 and a green to remove a counter to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Really good. Then we've got Voracious Hydra. This one came from the pre-release. I think I probably played it. And we see he enters with X counters. He's got inbuilt trample. And when he enters the battlefield, choose one. Double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Or it fights target creature you don't control. Then we've got one of the most recent additions to the deck. We've got Benevolent Hydra. So this came out in the Jumpstart 2022 one. I mean, this was one of the most recent additions. I haven't got to play with it yet. I've just put it in the deck. I'm sure it will be very good anyway. It says basically he enters with X +1/+1 counters. And it's if for one or more +1/+1 counters will be put on another creature you control, put that many +1 instead. And then it's got tap, remove a +1/+1 counter, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. It should be really good. And we have the last creature in the deck that... Yeah, it's the last creature in the deck. So this is Shivan Devastator. So this is it's a Dragon Hydra. So it would be... it's a nice... cool card. It's got lots of abilities on it. It's basically like a better version of some of the other cards. So there's something before that at Hydra that had haste, but this one has evasion, so it has flying and haste. Anyway, he's really cool, and that's the full art foil version. Alright, so those are the creatures. Let's get on with the spells. Alright, so let's start with the spells. So we'll do the non-X spells first. We'll just do the mana ramp package. So in this thing, you're looking to get a lot of mana into play, and because you're basically focused on casting a lot of big things. So we're going to go through the ramp package. Cultivate, so that you know what Cultivate does. You don't need to look. It's search your library for up to 2 land. Reveal those cards, put 1 into battlefield, 1 into hand, shuffle library. Godama's a reach, so that's basically the same version as like Cultivate, other than it's from the original Kamigawa. Then we've got Rampant Growth, that's just the Texas one. And then we've got Fossick, so that's the ramp package. Right, so we'll go on to the spells. Let's do the X spells first. So these are so we'll do them in 2 sections. They're basically two lots, and basically some are focused on damage, so they're generally the red spells, and then we've got some other ones. So we'll do the other ones first. So this is Sorry about that. So trying to get the camera in focus. Okay, so that's the Gluttonous Genesis. So this is a one from the original Eldrazi set. So this is XX for a sorcery. So it's put XXX green ooze tokens onto the battlefield. Pretty good. Makes a lot of tokens. And then we've got Worm Calling, which is from Time Spiral. This has got a mechanic on. So it's basically X and a green to put an XX green worm creature token into play. So it makes large worms. But it also has buyback on it. So buyback is as you may pay an additional X, which is in this case 2 and a green, as you play the spell. If you do put the card into your hand as it resolves. So that means you can also, if you have mana open, you can basically play it multiple times in a turn. For instance, if you want to split your bodies. Right, so then we're going to have the X spells, the actual X spells. So these are like going to be the damage based ones. So we've got Clan Defiance. So this is a red-green sorcery speed. You choose one or more. It deals X damage to target creature with flying. It deals X damage to target creature without flying and X damage to target player. So that's quite versatile. That can win you a lot of games. And it's quite versatile. Then we've got one of the most recent additions. So this is a foil one. I got it recently. Oh, for those people watching the other thing, I picked this. I got a Elish Norn, the most recent Elish Norn, the mother, as I said. The mother was located. I located the mother. I got it in my prizes from F&M. And I was very happy to get it. And also this was in my prizes as well. Crackle with Power. So this is really cool. This is XXX thing. I think the highest thing in X they go up into is triple X anyway. So this is Crackle with Power. It deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. Then we've got Jazz Immolating Inferno. So this is X and a red. It deals X damage to each of 3 targets. You can only cast... It's a legendary sorcery. You can only cast it if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker, but it shouldn't really matter as you normally have your commander on the table. Right, so then we've got Black to the Past. This is Fan the Flames. So this is basically a fireball equivalent effect. Where it's also got buyback. I believe this was one of the mechanics that came out in this set. So this is the original... Was it Tempest or Stronghold? I can't remember. It's the portcullis one. I think it's around Tempest or Stronghold. Anyway, so that was the mechanic in the set. So this is basically an X spell. Deals X damage to creature or player with which it has buyback on it as well. Then we've got Banefire. So this is another variant on the X spell. This one is quite versatile. It's quite good because if X is 5 or more, it can't be countered. So it's basically just X damage to creature or player. If X is 5 or more, can't be countered. Then we've got some other stuff. So we've got Subterranean Tremors. I don't remember if I've got the token for this. I feel this token's on the rare end of the spectrum. So this is basically like an earthquake effect. Subterranean Tremors deals X damage to each creature without flying. If X is 4 or more, destroy all artifacts. If X is 8 or more, put a 8/8 red lizard token onto the battlefield. And that was from... Then we've got Rolling Earthquake. I'm going to say, if this is the original version of the card, this card is quite expensive. It's from Portal 3 Kingdoms. This is the one from the FTV, so this one isn't as much, but it's still reasonably expensive. And it's basically, Rolling Earthquake deals X damage to each creature without horsemanship and each player. And generally, if you're doing it on your creatures will survive. And you have things that basically will get larger after the counters come off. Then we've got Fall of the Titans. So this is XX and a red. For an instant, it's Fall of the Titans deals X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures or players. Don't worry about the Surge, that's mainly for... Oh, no, Surge. Yes, so you can cast it for less if you've cast a additional spell this turn. Yep. Then we've got Electrodominance, which is a instant for X, a red and a red. Electrodominance deals X damage to any target. You may cast a card... with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I mean, it said Comet Storm. This is the promo, so this is with X and a red. For instance, with Multi-Kicker, it's basically choosing a player. It's choose target creature or player. Then choose another target or player for each time Comet Storm is kicked. It deals X damage to each. People, my friends are just messaging me. They're telling me what they just opened and stuff. So, all right. Then we've got Magma Quake, X, a red and a red. It's basically an instant speed like Earthquake kind of effect. So Magma Quake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each Planeswalker. Useful, good against having something that get against Planeswalkers. And then we've got Starstorm, which is X damage to each creature. It has cycling, so you can discard the card, draw another card. Very versatile. Right, so then we were getting there, nearly done. This is going to be a quick video for me. This is going to be about half an hour. Right, so we're going to show you all the doubling effects of things. So this is Mana Reflection. You see, if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces twice as much of the mana instead. It's worth doing. This doesn't just affect lands. This will affect anything. It's any permanent. So if you're tapping your Sol Ring, you're going to make 4 mana, for instance. So this is Mana Reflection. And then we've got the classic, we've got Doubling Season, you've got this one is being the original one. I remember getting one in one of the last times I did that set as a retro draft, and I was like, I got Doubling Season, I was like, that's pretty sweet. Anyway, so that's the original printing, play whichever printing you have. And then we've got one of the newer cards from the Jumpstart again. There's a lot of things from Jumpstart, or at least reversing the Jumpstart. So basically, the counters was one of the themes in the set. And this is Branching Evolution for 2 and a green. It's an enchantment. So if one or more +1 counters would be put on a creature you control, put twice that number of mana would be put on that creature instead. So it's like Doubling Season, effectively. Then we've got Rites of Flourishing. And it's whenever you cast a permanent spell with a mana cost that contained X, double the value of X. Whenever you cast an instance or sorcery spell or activate an ability, if the spell's mana cost of the ability activation cost X, copy the spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's a good card. And then we've got the last thing in the enchantment section, which is I put it in the enchantment section rather than the creature section. It's Nightly, God of the Hunt. You know what this does. It's other creatures you control have trample, and it pumps things. Right, so we go on to the artifacts. There's some. Right, so we got Cage Sun. It's basically choose a colour. Creatures. It's a 6-mana artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a colour. It's creatures you control of the chosen colour +1/+1. Whenever lands ability adds 1 or more of the chosen colour to mana pool, add 1 additional mana. Then we've got some mana rocks. We've got Lotus, foil Lotus. I used to think there was actual foil original Black Lotuses when I started. I didn't realise foils didn't come out until like Urza's block anyway. Right, that's the Gilded Lotus. We got Fran Dynamo. It's 4 mana for 3. And to finish with, we've got a Sol Ring. Right, so now we've got the last bits in the deck. So we've got some Planeswalkers. We've got 2. I think I used to play more, but I dropped most of them. I used to try things like Koth and some of the Nissus, but I didn't feel they were that great in this one. So we've got Garruk. We know what Garruk does. He makes beasts. He draws cards where X is the greatest power. And eventually he puts a lot of overwhelming board state, which they basically need to wrath normally because of this thing. Anyway, Garruk, Primal Hunter, probably one of my favourite Planeswalkers. And we've got Garruk, the Wild Speaker. This is the original printing from Lorwyn. He's basically very versatile. He basically ramps your mana. He makes beasts. And he gives creatures you control +++3 and trample. Useful on hydras and stuff like that, as they don't necessarily come with inbuilt trample. Anyway, that's Garruk Wild Speaker. Anyway, said we'll finish with the lands. We'll start with the non-jewels. We'll do the utility lands, we'll call them. And this is Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Why these cards are not legendary? Some of these lands feel like they should be legendary, but the Valakut deck in, like, say, Modern and that wouldn't work without this. Anyway, see, I also played Valakut in, like, Standard and that when it was around. And say Valakut is when it enters the battlefield tapped, and it's whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control. If you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have Valakut Molten Pinnacle deal 3 damage to any target. You can make multiples in this deck. We'll show that in a minute. This is Nykthos. With the legendary lands, it taps for your 2 and choose a colour. Gives you mana equal to your devotion of that colour. We've got the ways. These are mostly done on Valakut, to be honest, or one of your other utility lands. As I say, this is Thespian Stage, more commonly associated with things like Dark Depths. And then we've got Vesuva, another way to copy a land. Then we've got the red-green jewel lands, so we'll start. They're not a huge amount, but like as I say, if you don't have these red-green jewels, play what you've got. I mean, I've got these ones. I've got them pretty much for the thing. So we'll start with the big one. That's a Tiger. So that's an original Tiger from I think it's revised. Anyway, so this what is one of the things they say, as always the dual lands are expensive. If you have them, play them. If not, you try and substitute something. I mean, you say when I got these dual lands, and that was a long time ago. That was like 15 plus years ago, maybe 20. Yeah, it's probably closer to 20. I would say this was they were between 12 and 15. They're in the hundreds. Alright, that's the Tiger. And then we've got Wooded Foothills. Pick your favourite Wooded Foothills. Obviously we've got that one for this deck. We've got Rootbound Crag, Stomping Ground, foil one, that one. We've got Coppiceland Forest. I mean, say most of the Painlands are in the current sets, all been printed recently, most of them, so they're quite cheap. And we got one of the most recent ones, as the one from the Baldur's Gate. Oh, this is what the thing is anyway. So it's the red green buddy land we call the Spire Garden to finish with, and then we've got the basics to finish with. So we've got mountains. They're all foil mountains. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 mountains, and probably a similar amount of forest. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Anyway, that's the Rosheen deck, or that's my Rosheen deck. I mean, I would say I've been playing it for quite a while now. There's got quite a lot of new toys recently. Anyway, so I haven't actually played it since I've put these new cards in. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to say on this thing. Oh, say there's a couple of other things I'm going to mention. As I say, I think maybe Awakening the Woods will be quite good in this deck. I might play it over some of the other cards because I feel it will accelerate the mana, because they make XX11s, which basically I feel they tap for mana. They're like Forest Dryads. So I feel that could accelerate the mana in this deck, and I might get one of those. I mean, you say that came out in like that was in Dominaria. So whatever. Oh, my memory's going. It was in a set recently. Anyway. Brothers War. It was in Brothers War. Yeah, it was in Brothers War. Ignore me. Right. And we need to say that's the end of the deck of that deck. And we need to say I'm going to be trying something new on the channel. We're going to say now I've got access to. I've got enough people. I've got a community tab. So now we can basically going to be able to vote on the videos that I'll be doing next. So I'm going to put free ideas for videos in the community tab, and basically we're going to leave it there for a while, and then basically people will get to vote on what the next video they see. So I would say I'm going to put 3 decks in there. I mean, as I say, I think I know the ones I'm going to feature are going to be Captain Cisse, the original Captain Cisse, the green-white Cisse, which is my favourite commander deck, and I've yet to feature it. That's going to be one of the options. Another one is going to be my mono-white Kemba artifact, equipment deck, and then there's going to be another one of some description that I haven't thought of yet. Anyway, so don't forget to look into the community tab and vote for what you want to see next. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. We help the channel grow. I mean, so I keep on doing these. I've got like 40 decks. I mean, like I've still got loads more to go. I mean, say I also will link the video on Moxfield as well once I've done it as well. I've done the paper list. I haven't done the digital list yet, but they take me about an hour each to do. So I hopefully I'll do it soon. And also, you say, well, my internet connection's just about to improve. The fiber's coming, people. So we may even be able to film a 4K resolution soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Love you. Bye.